Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today is Succulent Sunday, and I'm going to begin today by working on my Christmas cactus bonsai. Here is a look at my Christmas cactus. It's growing quite well this year. It's getting old and mature looking. Today I'm going to prune it up. When a Christmas cactus gets old, it gets thorns on the trunk here. So you have to be very careful not to get those in your finger because they dig into your skin and become quite hard to remove. I'm going to start by having an overall look at the tree. So I have my one main trunk coming up and it divides into two here. I have a third kind of trunk or branch coming off the side, and I have another low branch or trunk coming off near the base of the tree. I think I'll start by cleaning up this branch here, or this trunk. It comes up and then it divides into 1, 2, 3, 4. So I just want it dividing into two, and I think I'll keep my oldest trunks, this one here and the one over here, and get rid of the newer ones. All right, here I go. So I'm going to remove this outer one here first, clipping it off at the base like that. And then I'll get my second one here, like that. I have a new leaf growing in the inside here. I'll prune that out also, just to clean that up. So now I have this trunk line dividing from 1 to 2. And if I follow it up, it then divides from 1 into 3. So I'll take off the one that's going towards the inside here, like that. And then this one comes up and it divides into 2 again. So I'll prune the long growth off and the long growth off here, shortening that up. I'll do the same for this one. So it comes up. Now this one, it has one segment here and another segment here with no dividing here. So I could prune it off here and get some dividing down lower, or I can leave it long and it divides into 2 up higher. I think it's too high to have the division up here, so I'm going to prune it off here. So here I go, just like that. I'll do the same for my other trunk line here. So it comes up one segment, another segment divides into 2. So I'll shorten these ones back to the first leaf, like that. And then the other division over here comes up one segment, divides into 2. So I'll also prune that off shorter here and here. So that's got that branch line cleaned up. Now you can see this one kind of goes vertical and it's kind of interfering with the trunk here. So I may not want to keep that. I'll leave it on for now, and then when I'm finished pruning the tree, I'll come back and we'll look at the overall style of it and maybe remove some branches that are crisscrossing and not growing in such a good direction. I'm going to follow my trunk lines up now, so let's go this direction. So it comes up, it divides into 2 here, 2 again, and again this one is kind of crisscrossing the trunk. But I will just shorten it back. So I'll shorten this one to here, the first leaf segment, this one to here, this one to here, and this one to here, shortening that branch up. Now I have this one dividing from 1 into 3, so I'll take off this inside one here. So now it divides from 1 to 2. Now if I follow this trunk line or branch up, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 divisions there at this junction. Way too many. So I'll take the one on the inside off. That one there. I'll take my lowest one off here. I'll take the one shooting out the back off here. This little one here. So now I've got it dividing from 1 to 3, and I have to decide, well, what am I going to keep? Do I want this branch sweeping upwards, or do I want it going more horizontally? I think for flow lines, the upper one continues the flow of this branch, kind of reaching skyward, and then you get that arching of the branches as they grow longer. So I'm thinking of maybe removing this more horizontal one here, or keeping these two and getting rid of my back one here. I think I'll keep these two. They're both nice branches, and this one's kind of duplicated behind here, so that one can come off. So now it divides from 1 to 2. Now I can follow this branch line up. I'll shorten it here. It divides from 1 to 2. This one comes up, divides from 1 to 2 here. So I'll just shorten it back. This one's dividing from 1 to 2, so I can keep that upward growth and shorten it back like that. So that's got this branch line cleaned up. I'm following this trunk line up now, and I have a branch off to the side, and you can see it's really heavy with foliage here, and it's starting to arch. So I'm going to shorten it back. I'm going to take this segment off here. Always keeping my divisions from 1 to 2. And that's about it for that branch, actually. It's all dividing nicely. Let's rotate around here and follow this trunk line up. It comes up, it divides from 1 to 2 here, and then it divides into 2 again very quickly. And it's a little cluttered in this area, so I think I'm going to take that inside one out. So here I go, like that. I'll shorten this one back, and this one back. And then this one, it has a segment here and it doesn't divide into 2. It continues on. So I think I'm going to have to prune that back again and try and get some divisions in that area. This part of it comes up, and I'll have to prune it here. Then off of this trunk line I have another branch coming up here. It divides from 1 to 2. I'll shorten this one back and this one back. This one, it comes up. That's a good division. I can prune this segment off here, shortening that branch. And then the other branch, I'll shorten it to here and to here. Okay, I think that's good. And then I have this one coming up, and it just keeps growing, so I'm going to prune it off shorter, like that. So now I'm going to follow this trunk line up. I've got a branch here dividing into 3. I'm going to prune my lowest one off, keeping it sweeping upwards. This one's good. It comes out, divides into 2 again. This one could be pruned back. This one's good. I can prune it back shorter to here. And then this one's dividing into 2. I'll take the tip off, hoping to get more subdividing off of this branch. So that cleans this one up. Let's look at this trunk line now. Comes up, divides into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got to pick my most flowing trunk lines. I have 2 branches kind of growing right beside each other here. I only want one of those. And which one should I keep? I think I'm going to remove the lower one. Like that. And then I'll shorten this one back, and this one back, and this one back, and I may get rid of that entirely. I think I will, keeping the one behind. So it's dividing from 1 into 4 now. I'll get rid of this little one here. And then of these 2, I need to pick one. Tough decision. I think I'm going to keep this one and get rid of this other one here. And you can see on this branch, it had a fairly hard prune in the past. That's why there's so many branches going from one spot. So up here I can shorten this one. This one I can shorten also. And this one. And again, I may come in, well, I will come in and do my branch selection when I've got it all pruned back. Okay, so that's got this trunk line all cleaned up. So let's go around to this one now. So this branch can be shortened. This one's good, but it can be shortened here. The one coming up here, it divides into 3 at the top. I'm going to prune out the one kind of crossing here. There. This one I'll prune back and prune back. Like that. So at this division I have 3 branches. I don't like this one, it's crossing. That divides into 2. I'll prune it back shorter. And this one's good. This branch comes up, it divides into 2 here. And then it divides into 3, this one. I'll prune off the inside one. And shorten this one. Like that. This trunk line, it's coming up, it's dividing into 1, 2, 3, 4. So I want to keep my flowing branches. I'll get rid of the one on the inside here. And I think I'll get rid of this drooping one. Like that. Prune this one back. Prune this one back. And that one's good. This one's good. Let's prune the tip off here. Okay? And then I have, it still divides into 3 here. So I've got to decide which one to keep. I think I'm going to get rid of this vertical one, like that, and shorten this one back, like that. So I've got all the, structural, that new growth pruned back now. So it's all dividing from 1 to 2. So now I need to step back, look at the tree, and decide what branches I want to keep and what I want to remove. Here is a look at what I took off today. So a fair amount of branching. There's what's left on the tree. I finished with the sort of technical part of pruning, shortening everything back. So now it's time to look at the tree from an artistic viewpoint. And I kind of like this as the front. It's a little unusual, but the trunk line comes towards you. And then I have a branch coming out the front and one to the side. And then the trunk line is a bit in the background, but not too bad. I've been looking at all the other views. This one doesn't look very graceful. This one, the trunk's, it's okay. I don't like this branch being, flat onto the viewer. A view like this could be okay, but I'd have to remove that front, this lower branch or trunk off. So I think, right between the 2 feet on the pot here will be the front of the tree. And again, it's, a little unusual, but I think it shows the trunk lines off to the best. It puts this trunk line in the background, so it's there. But, there's not a bad front either, but this branch is kind of going straight up in front of the trunk. So, yeah, I think here, kind of liking that. So I'll mark that as the front. All right, so the front of the tree is right about here. So I've got a little loop of wire in there to mark the front. Let's have a look at it from the front now and decide what branches need to be removed. All right, so there's the front. This branch is crossing the trunk line. However, I don't think it's too bad. If that were gone, I kind of like it there, so I'm going to keep that. I do think this one is sticking up. That could be removed, so I'm going to take that one off. Like that. That kind of clears up the space here. Yeah. This is the front of the tree. I'm not sure I need this branch here. I think I'm going to remove that one also. Clearing up the space in here. I'm a little long out the back of the tree here. Too long. I'm going to prune that back. And I think it's just a matter of pruning it right off here. Reducing that to a stump. And then new branches should grow in there. This one's also getting a little long. I'm going to take the long part of it off. Making that apex just a little more compact. That looks better. And then I've got a hanging branch here, which I'm not really sure I like that. I like my growth to go upright and then curve down. And I think this is just a little bit curving too early. And it's kind of growing over top of the other branch here. So I'm going to take that off. And then, so there's the front again. And then this branch, it's kind of drooping over top of this other branch here. I'm going to take this part of it off. So that's better. And then I think this one I've got to take off also. I'm not even sure if I need this one. This is my front. It's I don't think I do. I think it's growing up into this branch, so I'm going to take it off. Here I go. That's gone. So just keeping the one sort of trunk line out the back there. I think that's looking better. I'm going to take this off here. Like that. Okay. I think that's got it pruned up. I think it's looking quite nice. So more branches coming off the Christmas cactus. And I think the tree's looking quite nice now. Here is the current front of the tree. I'll rotate it around so you can see it from all angles. The front could change in the future. So here I go. This is the front coming around to the right-hand side. Coming around to the back. To the left-hand side. And back to the front. Yeah, a very interesting plant as a bonsai. Like most succulents, they root really easily from cuttings. So here's a cutting off that tree that's getting quite mature looking too. So I might as well give that a prune today also. All right, let's have a look at it. So it comes up, divides into two again here. This is getting a little crowded in here. I'll take that one out. Like that. I'll shorten this one back. This one comes up, divides into two again. It's getting a little tall. I'm going to do a hard prune here. This one's kind of crossing the inside. I'll take that one out. This one's kind of drooping in the middle. I'm going to take that one out. cleaning up the structure. I think this one's getting very tall. I could either prune it up here or hard prune it down lower. I think in this case I'm going to do a hard prune here, taking this whole woody part off. So here I go, like that. Really making this a smaller tree. I think it was getting too tall. I'm going to prune the apex back, kind of do some hard pruning here. And to there. Now this comes up and divides into 1, 2, 3, 4, so I've got to pick which ones I want to keep. And I think this is kind of flat on, these two trunk lines, so I want something to, so the tree doesn't look two-dimensional. So I keep something growing out the front and maybe something out the back, which would be these two main branches, so I'll get rid of these little ones. Like that. That'll give a little bit of dimensionality to the tree. Okay. That could be quite good there. I'm wondering if I should take it right back. I think I will. Bit of an experiment. And, you know, that's what cuttings are good for, to experiment on. So I'm going to take that long top off and keep it as a smaller little bonsai. Like that. So, yeah, just trunk dividing into two at the moment. And we'll see what happens. It should explode in growth and become quite a nice little compact tree. That's my hope anyway. We'll see what happens. I received a late birthday gift. I'll show you what I got. Here is my late birthday gift, so thank you very much. Let's have a look and see what's inside. So we'll start here. From Windwick Farms, freeze-dried fruit. So there is freeze-dried Ontario peaches and Chaplin's vanilla ice cream. I've never had freeze-dried ice cream before, so this will be really awesome. Thank you very much. Also in here is Inkbird. Includes temperature probe with 5-foot cord. Plug and play thermostat. So let's have a look and see what this is. I have no idea. Okay, so there's a user manual. Plug and play temperature controller. What is it? That's the question. I'm not sure what it is. The ITC 308 is an easy to use, safe and reliable dual relay output temperature controller. It can be used as an over temperature protection and automatic temperature control system for various electrical appliances such as home brewing, reptile, pet breeding, incubation, barbecue, seedling mats, oven temperature control, terrestrial heat control, constant temperature cycle of heating pump, culture fermentation, accelerating germination, an electric radiator, electric oven, etc. Wow. So it looks like it's a thermostat that digitally controls when heat sources come on and off. Interesting. So let's get it out and have a look at it. Here it is here. So there is the electronic part of it. So it would plug into an outlet, and then from there you would plug in your, it says heating and cooling, and then you control your temperature by this thermometer here. So there's heating and cooling, and you can set your temperature here with up and down arrows. That looks really good. That's going to be really handy out here in the greenhouse. This unit would also be really good in the plant room to control the temperature accurately in there also. So yeah, I'm looking forward. I'm slowly setting the plant room up for the winter. I'll have to hook up lights, get the heater running. So I think this will be really good to control the heat in there, because when the sun comes out in the plant room, it just heats up like crazy. So this would turn all the heaters off. And then when the sun goes back down, this would turn the heaters back on when the temperature starts dropping. So I think it'll be really good. The temperature control on the heater itself is not very accurate. You can't rely on it. It's I've come out there when it's really warm in the plant room and the heat's running on full blast. And you know, you try turning your dial a bit, it turns off, and then it comes on again kind of randomly. It's not very accurate, the thermostat control on the heater. So I think this will be way more accurate and probably save on heating costs too. There are more goodies in the bag here. There is, from Windwick Farm, freeze-dried experience, we've got fuzzy peaches, airheads, and original Skittles. So these are freeze-dried at Windwick Farm, Fenwick, Ontario. So wow, is that ever cool? I'm looking forward to eating these. And then last but not least, there is a coin in here. Let's have a look at it. So here it is here. There's the front side. And then if I flip it over, oh, careful not to drop it, there's the back side. Cool. Well, I'll put that in my coin collection. Thank you very much. You may have noticed that I have my water jasmine up on the bench here. I repotted it recently and did a very severe root pruning, and the tree didn't skip a beat. It didn't drop any leaves, it didn't droop or anything. It just seemed to continue growing, so that's a good sign. I brought it up from the lower floor of the greenhouse now, up onto the upper shelves to give it more light now, to start gaining even more vigor. So there's a look at the tree now. It's gaining strength and growing quite nicely. So that's exciting to see. That was quite a severe root pruning operation I did on it, but as I said, if it lives, it has an awesome root base and one that I can develop into the future. If it didn't make it from this, well, yeah, I took a bit of a gamble, and so far it seems to have paid off. So there's my water jasmine's home now on the upper bench here, where it gets a lot more sunlight, and it should start growing with a lot of strength now. It's Succulent Sunday today, so I'll give you some updates to some of these succulents on the bench here in the greenhouse. So let's start with my crown of thorns here, my euphorbia. Here it is here. It's nicely in flower. It's getting a nice kind of asymmetrical shape to the canopy. Looking really, really healthy. Yeah, quite a beautiful plant for bonsai. And very easy to take care of. I've had good luck with it so far, with pruning, repotting. Yeah, it's just been doing really, really well. My baobabs continue to grow really well. You can see the new growth up top here. When these get mature, they get clusters of leaves, something like the Australian umbrella tree. I haven't got that yet, but that might come someday in the future. The trunk is continuing to thicken up. You can see my finger beside it here. So, you know, from a seed, it's doing quite well. So, as I said, my goal is to thicken it up, and then I'll do a big trunk chop on it and grow the branch structure. So you can see there's some, you know, branches forming on the trunk here. So it's definitely doing well. My other two, they're smaller, but they're doing well also. And there's this one here. So the trunks aren't as thick on these, but they're growing well. I water them a little more heavily in the summer when they have leaves on the tree here. I can almost water them. I usually water them every 2 days, and a thorough watering with fertilizer. And they're in tall nursery pots, so the water drains out really well, so they're not sitting in wet soil. So that's why I'm able to water like every 2 days. And so far they seem really happy. My desert rose forest here is doing really well, my Socotra Island planting. The desert rose are really bulking up. I've just noticed it recently that they're starting to really increase in size. I'd say they're a third bigger from when I first planted them. Maybe even double on some. I'm going to remove this tree out the front here. It kind of blocks your view of the island. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'll be top dressing the top here, the soil, with fresh sand or peeling off the one that has a bit of algae on it. Cleaning it up, and I'm going to put it in the Toronto Fall Show. Just, something a little different. My baobab style Portulacaria afroforest is still looking quite good. It's getting better and better all the time. So I'm going to try and put this in the Fall Show also. It'll take a bit of cleanup work. These stones, I raised them last time I repotted this forest, and I don't really like them up high like that, so I may sink them back down a bit. Yeah, some cleanup work, and I think it'll make, quite an interesting addition to the Fall Show. My euphorbia over here, the one they call the killer variety, is growing really well. You can see the new growth on the top of it, doing quite well. And beside it is my copper spoon cannoli? Not cannoli, that's an Italian dessert. Whatever it's called. Copper spoons, and it's also growing quite well. I pruned it here, it's subdivided, and it's doing all right. I wouldn't say it's super vigorous, but it's doing all right. I forgot to show you that I pruned my desert rose this summer. There was a branch that was getting too long, and I sealed it with turmeric powder, and now it's got new shoots growing in off of the branches there. So that's good to see. I also pruned my aloe back. I tip pruned it, and there are a couple of pups growing at the base of the tree that I planted separately. I'll show you those. They're over in here, right down here, and they're also nice and green still, so I think they've rooted and will survive. My desert rose cuttings, when I pruned those branches off, I planted them, and they're in here, and some of them have just withered away and died, but there's one here that looks like it might live, and maybe a couple over here too. So time will tell. They haven't shriveled up, so that's a good sign. So maybe I'll have some little miniature desert roses for the future. My other crown of thorns here, I did the first big chop on the top here. I haven't seen any branching yet, but the tree still looks healthy, so I'm sure branches will come in the future. Over here is that cutting I got from Connor's old jade. I tip pruned that recently, and you can see there's new growth coming out on the apex there. So that's good to see. On the other side of the greenhouse, I have my Sarissa, which is in flower. And it's looking really nice, the tree of 1,000 stars. So there's a look at the star field. Looks quite nice. Yeah, the tree is growing really well this year. Can't complain about that. My Chinese village penjing is also doing well. The trees are recovering from the last pruning and starting to fill in again. The moss is looking really nice and green. So I was hoping to put this in the Toronto Fall Show also. It depends on how the trees are looking. If they fill in nicely, I'll do it. If they don't, then maybe I'll save it for another year. But so far it's looking like it's on track. I've got another month before the show, so I think the trees will be looking good by then. My Premna over here, I pruned it back really hard. I took some major branches off it, and the top is really nice and green. It's growing really well. So Pruning those branches off certainly didn't hurt the growth of the tree. I think it'll take a long time before those big cuts heal on the trunk there, but yeah, we'll just have to keep growing the tree and hopefully those wounds will heal one day or callus over to the point where they look quite natural. Down here on the floor of the greenhouse, I recently repotted my Ficus religiosa, the small one that I've displayed with Wally before, and you can see it's coming into leaf really, really nicely. It's recovered quite nicely from that root pruning and repotting operation, and it's looking good. Beside that is my banyan tree, and I did a top chop on that, and the branches are taking over, and it's starting to grow with a lot of good vigor. I repotted it into the shallow pot to get a nice root spread going. So I think it's on track to becoming a nice bonsai for the future. My two ficus here, my Vietnam style ficus, is in a growth phase. I'm letting it kind of grow out to thicken and get better transition of the branches. So I'm just kind of letting it grow for now, and then I'll be giving it a big prune back probably over the winter. My tiger bark ficus here, the one that looks like an elephant, is also growing in really nicely. It's got a lot of vigor up top here, so that will also need a pruning, maybe over the winter. All my miniature trees here are doing really well, the little mini bonsais. Yeah, I'm very happy with them. They're all doing really well. I recently pruned the Arizona cypress here, and it's growing in nicely. Yeah, they're all doing quite well. Outside here I have my new table, my plastic folding table that I'm using as a bonsai bench. I've got my two forest plantings on it, my Avatar Grove and my large forest. You can see they get nice sun here, and they'll get good sun for the afternoon. We've had some nice warm humid days lately, and I've noticed all my ficus and tropicals have really started to take off now. And they usually do this in September. They start growing with a lot of vigor, which is good to see. And they just start growing and start looking really good, and then winter hits and you go through the battle of trying to keep them healthy all winter. And then they take all spring to start growing again. It's a tough thing to grow tropicals here in Canada, but I mean, it can be done. You just have to be patient, and your trees will grow slowly but surely. I was at the Kitchener-Waterloo Bonsai Society's barberry workshop, and I resisted getting another tree. I didn't get a barberry, but I did get a new addition here, and this is a Dawn Redwood cutting. So I don't have a Dawn Redwood. I thought I had one, but it turned out to be a bald cypress. So now I have a Dawn Redwood that I can develop into a bonsai. So thanks, Jason. That is all for this Succulent Sunday. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.